Hello, I'm Tom from Gear4music, and I'm joined by professional pianist Luke Jones, and we're going to be looking today at how you can get the best from your playing with the Kawai NV10s. And if you enjoy these videos, don't forget to click like, subscribe, and comment below. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Luke. So this is the Kawai NV10s. So as you can see, it's quite an impressive instrument. So it's a mini grand and it's a hybrid piano. So I think it's quite important to sort of look at what hybrid pianos really are. So in terms of the touch, that's one of the main things that stands out to me about Kawai pianos. So can we just go into a little bit more about how it feels under the fingers?
Yeah, so I mean, this is really a top of the line kind of range for keyboards and digital instruments. Obviously, because it's a hybrid, it has action that's come directly from a piano.
So that's the Millennium III Grand Hybrid.
Yeah, exactly. The Millennium III Grand Action that they've put straight into this instrument. And so you get this, authentic acoustic feel whilst combined with the, practicality and functionality of the digital piano.
So in terms of the action a little bit more itself, I know it's got sort of the carbon fibre hammers in there that really does bring that action from the acoustics.
Yeah.
So it's great to sort of see it in this impressive cabinet. So in terms of how it feels compared to an acoustic, how does it differ, or does it differ?
It differs only very slightly in the fact that obviously with a big acoustic piano, you get the kind of resonance feedback from the strings. But in terms of the actual hand feel, for lack of a better term, it kind of feels very much like an acoustic piano because you've got that same mechanism, you feel the hammers as you play the key. So you get that same kind of physical feedback that you would from, if you played the keys on an acoustic piano.
And then ultimately, every digital piano's aim is to be as close to an acoustic as possible. So this really takes it that step further by having hybrid action.
Definitely, yeah, I would have to say, yeah.
Fantastic. So obviously you've played lots of concert grand pianos around the world. So in terms of this, how does this help you really sort of play expressively?
Well, because of the wide range of sounds and obviously the action that's built into this instrument, it's a kind of ideal practice instrument, I would say. And also, even in certain types of venues, it can also serve as a concert instrument, I think. Especially venues where they can't quite afford a full-size grand piano, or maybe the size of the space doesn't accommodate this, or there are many situations in which this kind of instrument is the ideal situation. The fact that you can also adjust so many aspects of the feel and the quality of the sounds through the virtual technician that Kawai is built into the hybrid piano really makes it a very versatile option for any performing artist.
So you can really fine-tune the settings to get it exactly the way you want and really fine-tune the sound that you want.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So you can kind of fine-tune it for different types of repertoire. You can adjust it for different acoustics. And this is really important because obviously, when we go to, one of the burdens of being a concert pianist is when you go to the venue, you never know what you're going to get. And it really depends on the technician, it depends on the acoustic, it depends on so many factors that are outside of your control. And, an instrument like this can give you some control over that and also help refine what kinds of things that you like, kind of narrow down what it is that you want to get out of your playing and the kind of sound that you want to produce.
Fantastic. Because obviously different concert grand pianos have different flavours to them, don't they? Some are brighter, some are darker, some are more suited for solo repertoire, some are more suited for ensemble repertoire. So at least by having the technician, they can really fine-tune that to how you want it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also through the different types of pianos that they've got on it. For example, they've got the SK-EX, which is the flagship concert grand. They've also got the EX concert grand, which is often used for concertos that play with orchestra because it's a much brighter instrument. They also have, the baby grand and also the upright piano sounds on this instrument. So there's a lot of versatility basically, and it gives you so many options that you don't ordinarily get. And as I said before, it gives you a greater amount of options, in different circumstances. As I said, there are venues, for example, where they can't afford a full-size grand piano and a technician. I kind of compare it to how in many churches nowadays, we often have electric organs in place of pipe organs, because pipe organs are extraordinarily expensive. They require a lot of maintenance. But with, cutting edge technology, we can get as close to the original acoustic instrument as possible, and try and get as much out of that. And it also enhances the way we appreciate acoustic instruments as well.
Fantastic. Did you want to give us a few short excerpts just sort of demonstrating those different pianos?
Sure. So this is the SKEX Concert Grand. So you can hear the resonance and the fullness of the sound. So that's the SKX Concert Grand. So
it's really quite a bold, expressive.
Exactly, yeah. So this is the EX Concert Grand. So this is the one I mentioned that is often used for concertos, so playing with orchestra. And what you'll notice is that it's a much brighter sound. So for example, to take Beethoven Third Concerto. So much brighter, much more rich tone, something that would project, how you would listen to, the kind of instrument you would want when you're playing with orchestra, so it can be heard at the back of the concert hall. Another instrument we have, for example, is the SK5, which is a much smaller and generally a slightly mellower instrument, I would say, much less bold because they've got shorter strings, it's a smaller cabinet and that sort of stuff.
For more intimate performances.
Exactly, for small ensembles, chamber music halls, this kind of stuff. So, for example, you might have, for example, and obviously we've got the upright piano, which is a very different sound again. So
so very different in terms of the timbres that they produce.
Completely different. And the thing is, you can adjust this even further through the virtual technician, as we mentioned. So if you want to create, for example, a slightly different touch, so you want to create if you want a lighter touch, lighter action, you can adjust it on here. You want a brighter tone, you can adjust it on here. So it's really very versatile.
And I think it's also worth mentioning that you can adjust all this with the iPad through the Virtual Technician app.
Yep.
So you can either do it with an iPad or an Android device.
Yeah.
So you're not just limited to the screen, which is like a mini iPad or sort of tablet built in itself. So I think that's really quite an impressive feature. And I think as well, the pedals are quite a bit different to what you might normally expect.
Yeah, so actually the pedals are basically the same version of, it's analogous to the action itself. So inside this instrument, there are actual dampers that get lifted. So you get that kind of physical feedback that is not always present on a lot of instruments. A lot of it's very electronically done, and there's no kind of feedback whatsoever. Whereas with this, there actually are electronic dampers that are being lifted. So you get that physical feeling. So, for a professional, the practice side of this is really, excellent, I would have to say.
So obviously if you're in an apartment or something like that and you haven't got room for a big 9-foot concert grand piano, it's certainly that space-saving option, isn't it?
Yes. And also, not to mention nowadays, people remote working, we often live in very small, close together circumstances. And you can put your headphones in, so you can have your own concert hall through your headphones.
Ideal. So obviously you've got this sort of recording that's been done sensitively to that as well.
Yeah.
And I know you have been over to the factory and sort of seen where they record and everything. So how do they actually do the samples for this? Because it's quite an impressive process.
Well, I couldn't give the exact details because it's a very advanced process, but what I do know is that, and I was very privileged to see this, they have an anechoic chamber, which is basically a specially built room which reduces all feedback or reverb from the sound that gets produced. So basically what you're getting when you record this is the purest possible sound that you're going to get out of an instrument, because there's no interference, there's no acoustical interference. And obviously they tune the instruments accordingly, because naturally when you're tuning an instrument, it's very different acoustically. So they're really on the cutting edge of technology when they're producing the samples for these instruments.
So all that gets filtered into this sort of a lot more portable package compared to the Concert Grand, as I say. So not only does it look great, you've got the speaker system developed with Onkyo, so that's premium sound quality to reproduce those sounds that have been carefully sampled. You've obviously got the more advanced piano action and response. You've got the Millennium III Grand action in here, which is taken from the acoustics. And just in terms of the feel, you've got the premium features there. So there's so much crammed into this that can really help inspire your playing. So I'd like to say a big, massive thank you to Luke for joining us today.
Pleasure.
And again, if you do enjoy these videos, don't forget to click like, subscribe, and comment below. Thank you for watching.